Without a doubt, the most anticipated Nintendo game for the last couple of years is the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And while Tears of the Kingdom is just a couple months away from finally being in our hands, Nintendo has made a very unusual change about this game that's actually sparked a lot of discussion in recent days. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with what's in the game, but rather the pricing of the game itself. For the longest time, big home console games from Nintendo were always priced at $59.99 in the US, and this goes back even to like the N64 days when games like Mario 64 used to cost that same amount. But now for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo is pricing this game at $69.99, which is $10 more than the typical price of a Nintendo Switch game. And so far, it doesn't seem like this comes with any type of like extra bonus episode or anything like that. It's just the standard typical normal game that you would get, but now for $10 more. And so there's been a lot of discourse in the last couple of days as for how people feel about this. You've got like your whole Nintendo spectrum here with like the haters on one side who are like, this is unacceptable, how could Nintendo do this, I'm not supporting this game anymore. And then you've got the other side of like the Nintendrones who are like, it's just $10 more, the devs need the money, it's going to be such a good game, you can definitely still buy it. So I feel like we should talk about this too and kind of have like an actual discussion that goes through kind of all the valid points and looking at it from different angles to kind of really see what the entire situation is like. So the first thing that I feel like we should mention is that Nintendo is not the first one to make their game be $69.99. In fact, this has been a thing ever since kind of the next generation of video games has started, with the PlayStation 5 especially, where you might have noticed that a lot of the biggest like AAA games that come out on PlayStation 5 are priced at that same pricing. And so if we take a look at a game like God of War Ragnarok, which was one of the most anticipated PlayStation games last year, you're going to notice that this game is $69.99 for the PlayStation 5. However, this game also came out for the PlayStation 4 and was also available on last-gen systems, but the crazy thing here is that the pricing of this game is just the normal $59.99 for the PlayStation 4. It's only the PlayStation 5 version, which is the next-gen version, where you have to pay that extra $10. And so now going back to Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, you could say for PlayStation, well, they had a brand new next-gen system come out, so because of that now, and having more performance capabilities and all of that, that's why games are $10 more for PS5, but that's not the case with Zelda. This game isn't releasing on the Nintendo Switch 2 or a Switch Pro or anything like that. It's coming out on the normal Nintendo Switch that we've all had for the last 6 years, but now being priced at $10 more. So you can't even say really that it's like you're getting better performance or anything like that. And even Breath of the Wild 1, when it came out on the Switch, I mean, you're getting just the same amount of performance as that game because it's on the same hardware. So you're going to be getting a game that's not even going to be 1080p. It's going to be 30 FPS, probably dropping frames in Korok Forest and stuff like that, like how the original Breath of the Wild did. So you're not getting like an insane performance upgrade or anything like that either, but the game still costs $10 more. And there's even an argument to be made for the other side, where even PlayStation 5 games shouldn't be $10 more just because they're releasing on better hardware now with better performance and better specs, because for the longest time, games have come out on the PlayStation and have come out on PC, and the PC versions have always had better performance and better specs if you have like a really powerful computer, and because of that, you're already getting games that are in like 4K and over 60 FPS and all of that, and the games have been priced the same on PlayStation and PC, so even saying that the better specs is why it's $10 more isn't the best reasoning, but at least it kind of can be justified. Another thing that I've seen people say is that we're just going through an inflation period right now in terms of our economy, and the cost of living in general has caused the pricing of everything to go up. And at first when I heard this, I was thinking maybe this could actually be it. I don't know if you guys have been to the grocery store recently, but the price of everything there has been inflated and it costs much more than it usually should, with like a carton of eggs, a gallon of milk, anything that you would want to buy now cost a couple of dollars more than it usually should. So putting that into perspective, it would also make sense why a Switch game has an inflated price too, right? Well, that's what I thought too, until I realized if this was actually the reason, then Nintendo would need to adjust the pricing of all of their games accordingly to make it sense with inflation. But if we take a look at the pricing for other Nintendo Switch games in 2023, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, $59.99, Advance Wars, $59.99, Pikmin 4, $59.99, Metroid Prime Remaster, only $39.99. It's just The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which for some reason has the pricing of $69.99. And especially if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of money to be able to buy a lot of games, $70 can be a lot of money, and especially if you live in like Canada where the game is costing $89.99. And so if the pricing of nothing else has changed, then what's so special about Zelda that makes it cost $10 more? I've seen some other people try to say that it's because of development costs or using like bigger cartridges for the Nintendo Switch in terms of memory and stuff, and the cost of making games has just gone up in general. And while that is true, it wouldn't make sense then as to why the digital version of the game is also the same pricing at $69.99. But also, this is just not a good example of a game if that's the reasoning that the cost of making games has gone up, because The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is already reusing so much from the original Breath of the Wild. Honestly, this argument would have been better off for the original Breath of the Wild, as that was an entire game that they had to create from scratch and create this entire grand world of Hyrule and make all the mountains and the rocks and the trees and all of that, and then have to create all of the enemies, have to create the whole physics engine, pretty much a lot of stuff that they had to make all from scratch, whereas this game is reusing a lot of that type of stuff in terms of like the models, the trees, the monsters, the enemies. A lot of that type of stuff has already been made from the original game, so this isn't even a good example to say that this game is the reason why it's costing more, because the price of making the games has gone up. If anything, if you guys want to hear the truth as for why I think that this game costs $10 more, it's because Nintendo knows that they can. You could make the argument that this is one of the most anticipated Nintendo games for the last 4 years, and Nintendo knows that. Nintendo knows that there's millions of people out there. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is already one of the best-selling Nintendo Switch games of all time. I'm pretty sure it's in like the top 3 or like top 4 or something. So Nintendo knows there's millions of people out there who really want to play the sequel, and so if they just sneakily make the price of the game $10 more, it's not going to stop a lot of people from buying this game. Like, even if there's a group of people now who are no longer going to buy this game because the $10 more is too much for them, or they don't want to support it anymore, they feel like they can live without Zelda, that group is still way, way smaller than the amount of people now who are just going to be like, oh well, I guess it's $70, I guess I'm just going to have to pay $10 more, I really want to play this game. And so it really kind of just is the sad reality here, because Nintendo is absolutely just taking advantage of their fans by knowing that there's so much excitement around this game, and there's not really an actual reason for why this game should be $10 more, but they can still make it that because they know that this game is still going to sell millions. Now, I feel like it is worth mentioning, this is still a mainline Zelda game at the end of the day. When has a big mainline 3D Zelda come out and not been a fun game or not fun to play at all? They have always been all critically acclaimed, all loved by so many people, so regardless of how this game is and the condition of it, the pricing, whatever, I do think that you're still going to get a lot of fun out of this game, and there's still going to be so many different places to explore around the world, so many different things to do, a really cool and interesting story with Ganon and all of that. You're still going to have a lot of fun, and you're definitely going to get your money's worth. The only thing that you can just say is that the original Breath of the Wild also gave you that same amount of stuff, but for $10 less. And while it is a Zelda game, the biggest thing that people are concerned about now is if Nintendo can price this game at $70 and still get millions of people to buy it, which they will, it's going to send them that message that they can price their games at $70 and still get sales regardless of what the game is. And we could very soon be living in a future where a brand new Mario game, $70, a brand new Pokemon game, $70, a brand new Splatoon, $70, brand new Smash Bros, $70, brand new Fire Emblem, $70. And this could very well become the new standard price for all big Nintendo games. Can you imagine one of those lackluster Mario sports games now being for $70? And if that's the future we're heading to, it's definitely going to become more expensive for a lot of people. Just buying 6 games for $70 each, all of those extra $10 that you spent on those games could have gotten you an entire other game when they were still $60 for the same amount of money. And Game Informer even asked Nintendo about all of this, and they said that they determine the pricing of their games on a case-by-case basis, and that the $70 pricing isn't going to be the trend moving forward. But I wouldn't believe everything that Nintendo says. They have lied to us many times in the past, and even if they are planning to raise the pricing of all of their games to $70 in the future, why would they admit that in a random interview? So in the end, it really seems like there isn't like an actual reason here as for why this game is costing $10 more. It is kind of sad to see that Nintendo is doing this because they know there are so many people out there who are really excited for this game, and $10 more isn't going to stop them from buying it. So of course the game is still going to sell millions and they're going to make even more money now. But man, I kind of just feel like it's not really the right thing to do. It does feel a little bit scummy in my personal opinion. I feel like if they waited till their next generation Nintendo system and we did have better performance and all of that, having the pricing of games be $10 more wouldn't be so bad, because it would kind of be like what they did with the PlayStation 5, but doing it in the middle of the Nintendo Switch's lifespan, it just feels really kind of weird to me, especially because the Nintendo Switch is pretty outdated to begin with now. Like, it's using 2015 Tegra chips inside of it, and it just doesn't really have the best performance capable, and now they're charging even more for one of their most anticipated games. But yeah, that is pretty much all there is to talk about in terms of the pricing for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. If you guys enjoyed this video, then definitely be sure to click that like button and also comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about this. How are you guys feeling about the pricing? What is kind of your stance on it? Are you okay with it? Are you kind of disappointed by it? How do you feel if Nintendo games do become $70 moving forward? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. If you're new to this channel, then please be sure to subscribe. I'm definitely gonna have some more Nintendo content in the future, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Click on that bell to become a part of the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.